Hello everybody, this is the Love Yourself Guru and welcome to the Love Yourself TV and welcome to today's episode. It's on how to deal with and overcome toxic people. And before we begin, I just want to differentiate between the difference between toxic people and difficult people. Difficult people are often really good, really kind-hearted, but you just have to interact with them in a different way. Toxic people are a different category of people where they're very negative in nature. They vibrate on a very low level and they intentionally try to harm you, and there's a lot of mental abuse going on there. So there's a big difference, and this video is about that category of people, toxic people. As you know, I'm a life and transformational coach, also a relationship mentor, and so I have clients. I work remotely, so I have clients that come to me from all over, from all over the world, and this is a prominent topic. It's how to deal with these toxic people and the aftermath of really their negative behavior, what it's done, how it's manifested. And it's often, I've noticed, it's often not with friends, because if you have a so-called toxic friend, okay, you can easily let go of that person. The difficulty comes when the toxic people are family members or extended family members. So I'm going to be sharing 5 tips on how to overcome and deal with toxic people that are family members or extended family members. So let's begin. The first thing to realize is the first piece of advice, and the first thing to realize is they're not going to change. Okay, and once you realize that they're not going to change, that's life-changing for you, and I'll explain why. Even if they do change, okay, even if they do change, that's between them and their creator. It's not your job to sit around and wait for them to change. If you've been good with them and they've basically taken advantage of your goodness more than once, it's more than likely then they're going to keep on doing it if you allow it. It's not your job to wait for them to change, okay? Your job is to look after your life, and it's your responsibility to make sure that you're always around people that wish you well, and you always put yourself in an advantageous situation, okay? So what do? Saying that now that you know that they're not going to change, why is that life changing? Well, if they're not going to change and you're not going to wait for them to change, that means that you have to not change yourself, but you have to change your behavior towards them. You have to change how you interact with them. And so how do you change how you interact with them? You don't stoop down to their level and you don't do what they're doing. No, what you do is you distance yourself. You distance yourself as much as you can, and I know it's difficult with family members, but if you distance yourself, it's very good for you and it's very good for them. And the reason why it's good for you is because you need to take care of yourself, and if they are intentionally trying to to upset you, all this upset is not good for your body. I promise you, I've had clients that have had this with family members for years and years and years and years, and it's manifested in so many illnesses in their body. And my question is, were they worth it? They weren't worth it at all. So it's to distance, to really distance yourself. It's like, for instance, if you said to me, you know what, I'm going to go into this cafe every day, but I'm not going to get ill. Everybody's smoking. I don't smoke. I'm not going to, it won't affect me because they're smoking. Well, of course it's going to affect you, even though you're not smoking. All those, everybody's smoking, all those fumes are going to affect you. It's the same thing with that negative energy. Really distance yourself. And if you do have to see them, due to family duties, also distance your soul. So your body's there, but you're not present. And I don't mean ignore them, but I mean whatever they do and they say, everything falls on deaf ears. You're going there, you're doing your duty, you wish them the best, but you've got boundaries, you've set boundaries, yes? You're not in that game anymore, because if you're not in that game, they can't play. So everything's a vibration. So if your vibration is, well, you know what, I've set boundaries, yes? And I'm even if they say something, I'm not gonna, it's falling on deaf ears, I'm not even gonna allow it to affect me, then game over. Game over, you've already won then. So the first thing, like I said, is to know that they're not going to change and act on that basis. And how do you do that? Is you distance yourself. You minimum contact with them, and if you do have to see them, be very, very, very distant. Very distant. Be your diplomatic, wonderful, amazing self. That's not going to change. Nobody can change that. But distance yourself. Really, really, say as little as possible, and just put those boundaries up, and you know how to do that. The second thing is, don't let them change who you are. Now, if you've had bad experiences with toxic people, often what happens is you actually think, oh my God, the whole world is like that, and you start to become very bitter and very resentful, and it does, sometimes it changes who you are. Well, no. Toxic people, they're a handful of people. There's so many more good people than there are toxic people in the world. So it shouldn't change who you are at all. Keep on being your good, amazing self, but choose who to show that goodness to. Choose who you're gonna shine with. So basically, choose one or two good friends, have some good friends, and do good actions with them. Do good actions with them once a month, for instance. Cook some meals, give them out to people in need. Pick good people and then start doing good things with those people. Eventually, what will happen is the goodness in your life will outweigh the toxicity which was in your life before, because you were just focusing on it. So that's point number 2. Don't let them ever change who you are. Number 3 is to self-reflect. Now, everybody that comes into our life, be it positive or be it negative, and when you come into people's lives as well, we're always teaching. There's always a lesson. Whoever walks into your life, there's always a lesson that needs to be learned. And when negative people come into your life, or toxic people come into your life, it's a time to self-reflect. It's a time to think, am I loving myself? Where am I with my self-worth? Okay? Because if you were really loving yourself and your self-worth, and you really loved, honored and respected yourself, I promise you, they wouldn't be on the same vibration as you. They wouldn't, first of all, they wouldn't be around you, as much as they are, or they wouldn't be around you. And second, even if they did, they wouldn't be able to upset you in any way, because you're on a different vibration. Now they're on a low vibration because they're so toxic, but you're also on a low vibration because you're not loving, honoring, respecting yourself. So you're in like victim mode. You need to get out of that victim mode, okay, and get on a high vibration, God willing, of, you know what, I'm a hero of my life. God Almighty has given me my life, and I'm gonna love, honor and respect myself. And I'm only going to allow good things and good people to actually enter my life, God willing. And what you'll realize is even if you have to see them once a month or whenever you have to see them, they won't be able to get you anymore, because you're just on such a high vibration. The game has changed now. You're not a victim anymore. So it's basically to self-reflect on, where are you not loving yourself? How can you increase your self-worth? And what things are you allowing that you shouldn't allow in your life anymore? So that's the third piece of advice. The fourth piece of advice is, don't think about them. And this is really interesting, because let's say, for instance, you mix with toxic people, okay, and you go and see them once a month, and then they do something, which they'll always try to do something or say something to actually upset you. But then the rest of the month, you don't see them, but you're thinking about them all the time. You're thinking about them all the time. You're talking about them. You're complaining about them. No. You're letting them in your world, even though they're physically not there. You need to get to a point in your life where you only think about thoughts manifest, okay? Your thoughts are basically your life. Whatever you're thinking, you're actually, God willing, you're actually creating, however your life is unfolding you know, in front of you is a reflection of your thoughts. So you really need to, if you don't want them in your life and you don't want their toxicity to affect you, you have to actually put ground rules that, you know what, I'm not going to think about them, I'm not going to talk about them, I'm not going to discuss them. I'm only going to think about what I want to see, God willing, and I don't want to see them. I don't want to be around toxic people. I have one life, and I'm going to make the best of it, and it's very precious to me. So I'm not going to spend it thinking and talking about toxic people. Just remove them from your vocabulary and remove them from your thoughts. And again, you're just removing out of that vibration. You'll just both of you be on totally two different levels. You're up here and they're down there. No thinking, no talking, no complaining about them. That's it. Game over with them. That's the next one. And then the last one is prayer. Prayer. And there's not one time in my life where, for instance, I've had to deal with, I've had a problem, or there's been toxic people, or whatever, and I sit down on my prayer mat and I just put my hands up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to God Almighty, and I just say, you know what, please help me. Please help me. And with regards to toxic people, I would advise you just to ask your Creator, you know what, please help me. Help me remove them from my thoughts, and strengthen me to distance them and to remove them from my thoughts, and to think about things that are going to be beneficial to me, and surround me with people that love, honor and respect me, and help me love, honor and respect myself. And I promise you, there's not one time when I've, sincerely, prayed from my heart that, everything, thank God, a billion times has come true, and I've been in a much better position. So those are the 5 pieces of advice that I would advise on how to deal with toxic people. Number 1 is to know that they're not going to change, and to distance yourself. Number 2, don't let them change you. Number 3, self-respect, reflect. And number 4, don't think about them. And number 5, prayer. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, kindly share them below. If you would like me to discuss anything in my upcoming videos, kindly also comment below. If you like the video, press a like and kindly subscribe. I love you loads. Have a brilliant, beautiful, absolutely amazing day.